imposter syndrome will never go away. Usually you start with a small voice in your head like, you cannot do it, you cannot do it. And the trick is that to shut down the voice before you go too big because it will become louder and louder. So shut it down early.
Hello and welcome back to the Worthy to Lead podcast. I'm your host, Christiana Corona. Today's conversation is with Anya Cheng, founder and CEO of Taelor, an AI-powered menswear rental and styling company that combines technology and human stylists to help busy professionals dress with less friction. Before founding Taelor, Anya held leadership roles across companies including Meta, eBay, Target, and McDonald's, and she also teaches at Northwestern University. She's a TEDx speaker and a Girls in Tech 40 Under 40 honoree. Now, what drew me to Anya's story wasn't just her impressive resume. It was actually the storyline underneath it. So she has learned to build confidence in a lot of unfamiliar rooms. She has found her footing through uncertainty, and she's learned to trust her own voice as a leader, even though she didn't know exactly where she was going or how she was going to get there. She's spoken about immigrating from Taiwan years ago and struggling to break into the U.S. job market. And when she did that, she leaned on her strengths from an earlier career as a reporter and eventually made the leap from corporate into entrepreneurship. So today, I want to go deeper into that entire lived story, into what shaped her and what tested her, and what she's learned about leadership, self-trust, and persistence, and what it looks like to feel worthy to lead. So let's dive in. I am so excited to just hear from your experience today and dive a little bit more into your story. So welcome to the show.
Hello. Hi, everyone. This is Anya Cheng from Taelor. Before starting the AI startup, I have 15 years in big tech companies before. Most recent in Meta, where I helped build out Facebook, Instagram shopping, has head of product for eBay, helping launch Latin America, Africa, Asia, new business, and senior directors at McDonald, and help Target to build a tech office here in Silicon Valley. So I'm excited to share a little bit more.
Yeah, and Anya, what's funny is you and I actually worked at Target at the same time, probably with exactly the same people. We just never crossed paths, which is so funny.
Yeah, there are so many people there, and I remember people love get to know you. So
yeah, there were probably hundreds of get to know yous. So just to kind of kick us off, I know you have built a long career across major corporate companies and found success also as an entrepreneur, but I want to start your story a little bit before that. So you shared with me that you first came to the U.S. from Taiwan. Breaking into the job market, it just was not an easy thing to do. And you had a lot of hurdles to overcome. So I'm curious if you can just tell my listeners a little bit more about your experience when you first arrived.
I came to the U.S. to go to Northwestern University, where I got my master's degree in marketing. And although I later in the career will mostly being a head of product, leading product team and technology team, but I actually started my career on the marketing side. But I unfortunately graduated in 2008 when Lehman Brothers went bankruptcy and there was no job anywhere. My background at the time was mostly reporter job. So most of my classmates, they went to P&G and Unilever as amazing marketer. So even on campus recruiting for my school, I wasn't able to get any interview. So I thought of, hey, where else can I find more recruiter? So I went to all different schools within campus, like the engineering schools, the law schools, the MBA schools. So I went outside of those schools campus recruiting because you can find those information on the internet. So I went outside and it's Chicago. So yeah, unlike Austin, it's very, very cold, like 14 degrees and Fahrenheit and minus 20 degrees Celsius. So I went outside the building, and as soon as a recruiter came out of the building, I was sending my resume, and it wasn't working. People told me, Anya, in the U.S., this is not how it works. You're from Taiwan. You don't know. In the U.S., we call it networking. You have to know people. Just like why at Target, we love get to know you, which is a meeting that you don't talk about business. You just get to know their job. Like, oh, you're an amazing UX designer. Tell me how you get UX design expertise, but not about specific project. But I don't know anybody. How do I find people and network and ask them to refer me a job? Well, I know professor. They don't know me, but I know them. So I knock on every single school's professor from the history school, chemistry school, material sciences school. And on the website, you can find their background, right? Hey, professor, you used to work for this amazing company that Target. Can you connect me someone at Target? I see you connect to this person on LinkedIn, and this is the job they are hiring. Here's my resume. So one day I knock on the door of a journalism professor, and he said, I don't know you. I cannot connect you to any job. But tomorrow I'm hosting a speech event and I need 10 more students to fill out the Zoom. Can you bring 10 students and you can listen to the speaker? So I went there. I didn't understand anything. My English was really bad. But in the end, I went to the speaker and said, amazing talk. Here's my resume. and the speaker, her name is Peggy. She was a CEO from Vance Publishing, which is a B2B trade publication. Their readers are farmers and salon owners. So she connected me to the recruiter. I actually got the interview. As soon as I walk out of the magazine company, I saw they put the magazine on the wall. I walked through the aisle. I thought, this is my company. They are a magazine company. I was a reporter. They are looking for a marketer. I was a marketing person. So I thought, this is perfect. Few weeks went by. I follow up with a recruiter. She picked up the phone call. She said, stop calling me. I was laid off. So the recruiter herself was laid off. So I said, hey, since you have nothing to do you want to grab a coffee? She said, yes. So we went and had a coffee. She told me everything about the company. She told me who was a decision maker, who is their client, what's their challenges. I remember I sit outside of a Starbucks near a train station, and every few minutes, like, da, 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 the train went by. And in the conversation, she told me one tip. She said, Anya, have you heard of New York and LA? They are bigger cities in the US and bigger city has more jobs. So with that idea in mind, I decided to went on a 2-month trip. I found a couple friends and I stay in different living rooms on the couches every week. And I print out 2,000 Northwestern University alum and I just calling each one of them and asking, can I do a coffee with you? So when I landed in New York, my interest at the time was working for a media company because I thought I was a reporter, so I should work for a media company, which was a really dumb idea because a media company doesn't need marketer. When was the last time you see CNN doing advertising for CNN? Not a lot, right? But I didn't know. So I thought, hey, alumni is good, but not everyone work for the media company. So I went on the newsstand. You know, the New York has those newsstand on the street. And in the old time, there's like newspaper. And on the newspaper, they usually put down the publisher's name is Christina. And if you want advertising, call this number. Right. So I bought all the newspaper. I start calling those publishers with the advertising number. And as a result, I actually met with a New York Times CEO, VP of CNN, all of the major executives. They probably thought I was an advertiser and I was just a student. But nobody was hiring. Everyone was laying off people. I thought this works, but it's just too slow. I need to go somewhere that I can meet hundreds of people once. Conference. But conference requires very expensive tickets, few $1,000s. So I called a magazine company back in Taiwan and I asked them, hey, would you like me to cover this story of this conference in New York for free? They said yes. I called the conference. Hey, I'm a reporter from Taiwan. I need a press ticket. And I got in the conference for free. So after these 2 months, I met with plenty of people. They all have great conversation, but nobody was hiring. I went back to Chicago. I was ready to go home. But before I went back to Taiwan, I realized I learned a lot during this process. So I reached out to the Farmers Magazine company, Peggy, the CEO, and I asked her, would you like to know what your competitors are working on? She said yes. Before I went, I interviewed their salon owners, those readers. I interviewed the advertiser. You open the magazine, you can find advertisers. I interviewed, of course, their former employee, and I put together a business plan. So with that, I recommend her to do these projects. And for this project, based on your employee and clients, and these are a few that I think you should be doing. And if you want to do this, you need someone who have marketing experience, have media company background, and ideally not very expensive, just out of college. And I happen to know someone. Anya Cheng. So she asked me one question. She asked me, would you like to be a contractor? My English was really bad. I didn't understand what was contractor mean. I said yes. I went home, I Googled contractor. I didn't understand why she want me to be a plumber. But
You thought she was asking you to be a farmer?
plumber.
Oh, a plumber.
When you Google contractor, it was
Oh, yeah.
the
That's
plumber.
hilarious.
Wow. So I didn't know why, but that's how I got my first job. And fast forward, I worked for Sears, and Target reached out to me, and they asked me if I want to move to Minneapolis. I said yes, but I told them that I was very interested in moving to Silicon Valley, being a technology leader. A month before I moved to Minneapolis, they called me again. They say, hey, your boss role was an opening, and now we have found the person, and the person also is based in Silicon Valley. And so if you don't want to move to Minneapolis, you can move to Silicon Valley. And so that's how I moved to Silicon Valley, and fast forward, work for Target and then McDonald's and eBay, Meta, and now I'm running AI startup Taelor.
What's really funny is people who move to Minnesota either love it or hate it because of the weather. And I lived in Minnesota for 40 years. So I'm just very curious. Were you excited at that point to go to Minneapolis, or were you like, please no?
You know, at that time I live in Chicago, so I
So it
figured
wasn't
that
too different.
I do the same thing. And I was very impressed that Minneapolis actually have heated garage, because in Chicago at the time we actually don't have heated garage. So I was very impressed with that, but I was very lucky. So sometimes when opportunity come, say yes. Like I actually say yes before I knew that I'm moving to San Francisco. But I say yes, and that's how I actually got a job, and that's how I actually moved to the Bay Area.
I just think, I mean, I'm sure everyone has told you this, but just the amount of persistence that it took for you to get to that first job. I mean, there are people right now who are feeling that in a really big way. They are sending hundreds of resumes. You know, they're trying to do this really difficult process of connecting with people and getting to the right thing where, you know, that could become a real job. Like you worked so hard to get that first job. What kept you from wanting to quit and just give up?
I think so. People ask me a lot about that. Like, oh, are you desperate and really want to stay in the US? In fact, I didn't. All I feel was like, I want to know what happened. I didn't want to live with a regret. Instead of that, I really so much wanting to be succeed. I would say I am more afraid of having a regret to find out what happened if I actually try. Right. So if I didn't try that, I probably will be wonder, oh, what if I do that? Will they actually give me a job? Will they actually start a career in a magazine company that I was very interested in at the time? I also say that people ask me all the time, like, why you didn't give up? I think it was because I was using my strengths, which is probably different from all of yours, and you all have your own strengths. For example, I wait outside the building and give you my resume. That sounds very crazy. But I was a reporter before. That was my job, waiting outside the building, giving someone a microphone. You just change the microphone to my resume, right? So, and again, like, oh, you get a press ticket and go to a conference. That's crazy. Yeah, but it wasn't crazy for someone who was a reporter before. It's just another conference that I have to go to. Oh, you bought newspaper on the street and reach out to all of those publishers. That's crazy. No, it wasn't very hard for a reporter who actually was just calling people and asking them their points of views, right? So I feel like there was more of using my strengths, and because I was using my strengths, so I feel like I can try again. And it was the idea of trying again, and trying again eventually get me to succeed, because the failure was just practicing for succeed. But because you know you are doing something that you are good at, so you are not afraid and you're willing to try again.
Yeah. I think there's something really important about establishing that you're going to do it whether you're afraid or not. Like there just isn't a point in time where you're saying, okay, well, I've worked enough. I think I'll take it easy for a while. Like that is just a really relentless work ethic, right? But I love that you were able to use the strengths that you had as a reporter. And a lot of people think that, oh, if I make a career pivot, I'm giving up all of those things I used to do, or I can't use those skills. And it's not true. Like some of the best design leaders or designers that I've ever worked with were journalists before, or they were engineers before, or, you have this opportunity to have so many different dimensions of your career over time. And it feels like your story is really one of those where you've reinvented yourself over and over again, doing different roles. You had one idea about media, you had an idea about marketing, then you saw a need and you changed it to business. And, like all of these different roles, you were open, you were flexible about what it was you were going to do, right?
I think so. It was always more of, I know half of the job and I'm learning half of the job. A lot of people ask me, I'm looking for new jobs and I'm tired of my old job. I was a marketer. I want to be a product manager. How do I do it? The reality is that if you don't know half of the job, no one's going to hire you, right? Why would they hire you? But if you are not knowing 100% of the job, why would you want a job? Right? You should go back to your old job. So I think this, for example, when I was in media company, I was doing a lot of media selling. And because it was a magazine company, so they have a lot of advertiser. So when I went to Sears, I was doing media buying. So kind of the same thing, but on the other side. And at that time, what I do know is media buying, but I didn't know was a data-driven side of a house, which was personalizing ads. So then it was 20 years ago. So everyone see different ads. Seems was a very cool thing at the time, right? So the new area of a big data of personalizing ads and make sure it's targeted ads was actually something new that I was learning. But I already knew the media buying side of house. When I was a marketer and transitioned to be a product manager, I was doing personalizing advertisements. So the website team I asked them, why don't you show the people different website? I show people different ads and they come to your site. When they land on your site, everyone see the same thing. This makes no sense. They say, I don't know. Can you come in and fix it? I said, come in. Okay, I will come in. And then so I went to the product team, became product manager. I was doing personalizing website. So everyone see website differently. Again, I know half. I didn't know being a product manager, but I know personalization. Become from Target to Sears to Target, I was a product manager and I became product manager's boss. So then I knew what I do, but it's my first time leading the team in the US and leading also cross-functional team, like other function within the Scrum team. And at the Target, I was building a new tech office for mobile tablet apps. So then McDonald asked me, would you like to do the same thing, but this time you can do globally for Latin America, Africa, Asia. So again, I know how to build a tech team. I know how to build a tech office in Silicon Valley, bring the innovation to the company, but I didn't know how to do it globally. And the globally wasn't something new for me. And then when I joined eBay want me to do the same thing for Latin America and Africa, but it was the first time I worked for a tech company. And being a tech company which doesn't have a lot of physical product or physical location bring different easiness, but also challenges. And it was my first time becoming a head of product in a tech company, which was really fast-paced, cutting edge on technology, and technology really impact companies' P&L 100%. If your website is down, the company make no money. When I was at Target, even if the app crash, people can go to store and buy something. The company won't be losing all of the money. But in eBay, if your site is not up and running, then the company makes no money. So it was the first time that I learned on the tech side. And going to Meta was the first time getting into more cutting edge tech company with really fast speed. And of course, I'm now using all the experience I had before, but then I'm learning to be a founder. And it's the first time being a founder and raising monies and working on cutting those deals, deciding on employees' benefit and deciding on which insurance company should we use and many more new things. But I also is sitting on top of the knowledge that I had learned in the last 15 years.
It's so interesting to just hear you share one by one. Here's what I knew. Here's what I didn't know. Here's what I knew going into this. Here's what I didn't know. Here's what was new or what was stretching you. Because I think it's really encouraging for people when they hear trajectories like that. It isn't just a carbon copy of the same job over and over again at all these companies. There was a dimension where you were always being stretched. You were always leaning into something that was a new challenge, or it was more scaled, or it was a new environment. And there's always that sense of challenge and growth that happens when you do something like that. So I'm curious, as you continued to scale up to bigger and bigger companies and bigger scope, what did you learn about leading through complexity when the stakes were really high?
I think what I learned most in those big tech companies is that it's a lot of a framework to make things simpler, because like decision at Meta, for example, is over 100 countries and impacting a lot of people, a lot of different departments. And people working for big tech companies are all very smart. People work for Targets are all very well educated. So it's really hard to convince people your idea. Because why your idea? My idea is better. You are Harvard Ivy League school. I also went to Chicago Boots MBA, but I'm a Harvard person, right? So, you work for Target. I was at Amazon before. I was at Walmart, right? So everyone has came from big company, have a big title before. So it was a lot more about framework. When I was at Meta, the first thing they asked you to learn strategic framework, which I didn't understand what they really mean. And later on, I realized you just something, a logic to help people understand how you think. So to give you a very simple example, so you own a fruit stand. You sell watermelon and strawberries and apples. So one day you ask your intern, say, I think we should put the watermelon outside of the store because it's heavy. No one can steal watermelon as easy as stealing strawberry. So we can make more money. And your intern come back to you and say, I disagree. I think we should put the watermelon next to the refrigerator. What does this mean? Means you have both the same goal, which is increase revenue, right? That's the same goal. But means that your strategy is different. One strategy is reduce thief. The other strategy is increase margin, because watermelon putting right next to the refrigerator where you sell juice, and juice is higher margin. Right? So it's a different strategy. And of course, it's a different tactic. One is putting watermelon outside, one is putting right next to the refrigerator. So what does it mean? It's just when you are having debate with your cross-functional team, many times in the end, you don't even know why you are arguing what you are arguing, right? So just listing a very clear framework on, hey, this is how we think. We think we should buy a YouTube app. Why? Because this is our audience. This is our competitors doing. This is the price based on the criteria, which is most audience and relatively this cheapest price per 1,000 impressions, and that our competitor is not doing well. Therefore, based on this criteria, this is what we pick. It's just a way to help people understand your logic and help you guys discuss on where you guys have a conflict. Are we not agreeing on the goal? Are we not agreeing on the strategy? Or are we not agreeing on the tactics?
Yeah. I think it's very easy, thinking about corporate environments for everyone to want to show up and be the smart person in the room. Like you said, everyone is well educated. They have a lot of experience. Most people are not coming in with, zero experience into those kind of jobs. And so having something that neutralizes, it's not just about opinions. This is about, the criteria of how we're deciding. What does a good decision look like? How are we evaluating these decisions against each other, comparing apples to oranges or watermelons inside to watermelons outside? We would often call them mental models. What does it look like to have a mental model around how you solve this problem so that everyone in the room can get on the same page about this is how we're evaluating it? Because otherwise it is just opinion versus opinion, or you can go out and test. You can go test and try a bunch of things and see what the results are. And then, the best experiment wins. But I like what you're saying around, when the stakes are high, and you have a lot of complexity in a business, having some sort of framework to work off of is super effective.
Yeah, but even if you have tests, we all know, right? The test is not about testing A or B. Testing is about testing a hypothesis. So if you say, okay, these three, okay, this one is better, but why? Is it because hypothesis was the color is brighter, it perform better? Is it because the image is bigger, so then you perform better? Like, what are you really testing? Because each of the elements still have hundreds of elements inside the elements, right? So have a clear learning objective or hypothesis, just make things a little bit less emotional, because it's not you are right or I'm right. It's because, hey, we have this hypothesis and the result come back. It's not proven or is proven. Either way, it's a win because we learn something new. So then feel a lot less emotional and less more of corporate politics.
Yeah, I love that. More of that. All right, so you have all this corporate experience and then you move to startup life. What was the hardest part of that particular transition for you?
I think it just mentally it's hard at the beginning because when we are working for a big tech company, just like probably a lot of you guys have experience on working for big companies before, when you take your business card of the target, going to a conference, everyone is trying to talk to you. The reality is no one wants to talk to you. They want to talk to someone from Target, right? So
Yeah.
they want the reality. They want to know someone who have a budget. So it was a quite big difference because I always work for big company, and someone always want to talk to me. Either they want to close a deal with a company, they want to get a job in a company, or they just want to come to Meta for free food for a day. So whatever they want to. So I'm kind of used to, hey, being popular. But being a startup founder, like I'm founder and CEO of Taelor, which is nobody. So when I started, I realized when I go to Chamber of Commerce, people don't talk to me. People all surrounding at those pre-IPO founder, IPO founder. When I go to conference, everybody talk to the investor. Nobody want to talk to the founder. And when I am in the meetings and everyone trying to give you a startup the advice, people are like, oh, you're a startup, let me mentor you. Like suddenly everybody is trying to either teach you or not talking to you. So it was hard at the beginning because you realize that, hey, we just don't have those shining titles anymore. And many times even for cutting deal with vendor, like, oh, this is only this amount of clothes. We don't want to work with you. Interns, oh, I'm going to intern at Google. Sorry, I reject your offer. So it's become much harder. At the beginning, I feel sad about that. I feel like, oh, people were just very like chase after the money and it's very transactional. But quickly I discovered that it's actually a blessing. Number one, I now see people who are genuinely curious about our business and want to help you, was really impressed with your knowledge, not just because they try to get out of something from you right away. I see people who are just all really trying to help, just really nice people. I see people who are growing with you together, believe in your missions, want to help, like, hey, 30% of clothes go directly from factory to landfill. We want to be part of a journey. We think circular fashion is a good thing. We see people who believe, hey, you guys are small, but like AI styling is a cool thing. I think AI application is the future. We start getting around by the people who truly believe in your missions and also just want to help or want to grow together. And I think that really the mindset change really help a lot because now you feel like, hey, you can actually see who are good or bad person very clearly versus you have to tell, are you nice to me just because you want to get a deal with a company? The second blessing is that I found that the challenge, but also blessing, was that in the past, I see everything as given. When I eat at home, the delivery coming, you should be on time. Everything is supposed to be. The trash was taken out. I don't even know which day the trash was taken out. It's just everything, the convenience was just given. But after being a startup founder, you realize, oh, the package delivered here because there's a merchant sourcing the product, there's an engineer writing the apps, there's someone, the merchandiser getting stuff on the website, there's a marketer to do the website, there's a UX UI designer to do it, there's a testing person doing the testing. There were just so many people's hard work to make this become possible. Because when I work for big tech company, they are all not my team. So who cares? You don't pay attention. But being a startup founder, you see end to end. You have so much more empathy for things. I start seeing people in my community cutting grasses. I start seeing Uber driver ask him, hey, would you like to work in my warehouse? I start seeing a very different part of the world. I start getting out of my bubble. So I think this is also a very blessing, but of course it could be challenging at the beginning.
Yeah. It's a really beautiful way to see it when you think about being on the opposite side now. So you were the one with the title and the shiny thing that everyone wanted, and now you're on the other side and you see how that feels, right? When I was at Amazon, we did delivery experiences for drivers, and it is a really interesting world to focus entirely on the driver's experience and how stressful that is. And they have to deal with weather and dangerous animals and angry customers and tripping hazards and, all of these things that you would never think about because you're like, where's my package? Why is it late? And what a convenient life we have, right? And so it is nice when you can kind of see things from the other side and really understand and see people differently. So I want to talk a little bit about your learning curve as an entrepreneur and also having to pitch your product. So you were telling me before that, when you started doing your pitching for Taelor, you had to do a lot of pitch competitions to get funding, right? And that you worked so hard on your pitch and you really crafted that pitch. But at some point you were given feedback that, hey, it's actually really about the answers that you give outside of the pitch. Like, being too scripted is not a good thing. Can you talk a little bit about just what you learned through that process?
Yeah, so it was actually a story of failure, but learned a lot from there. When we started a company, we now start our competitions. And as an overachiever, I was looking for formal judges. So I found 42 formal judges of the competitions, and I asked them to allow us to do a mock interview, right? So I asked them for the mock interview. I mock interview 43 times because one of the judges said, you're not good enough. We can try one more time. So we make another meeting. So we have 43 times. And so in the competition, my pitch was perfect. After the pitch, the judges asked me questions. I was totally stunned. I couldn't answer anything. Wasn't because I didn't know the answer. I did. But in my head, I wasn't trying to answer anything. I was trying to think about, this question. Practice judge number 37 asked me that, and I wrote down his answer in appendix number 2, and the answer was what? Because in my mind, I didn't believe I could answer the question. I was thinking someone else's answer will be useful for me. I didn't believe I could answer. I'm just a startup founder. Everyone's trying to mentor startup founder. What do I know? No, I actually know a lot. I had 15 years experience before, and I've been a startup founder. We think about the problem all day long, right? So many times, and then of course I lost a competition, which was $100,000 cash. But going back home, I realized that the reason I lost was because I wasn't present. I wasn't trying to just be myself, listen to the question, and then speak at my heart. All I was trying to do is memorizing the script from the judges. And in fact, I know a lot. And I also realized people don't follow leaders who memorizing script. People follow leaders who have points of views, right? Looking back your career, most of leaders all have points of view. They might have very different points of view, but they do. And that's what their points of view and their leaderships are making people follow them. Not someone who memorizing the script who will get you to follow them. So I think the topic for today is about leadership. I think that's something that I learned. Of course, after that, we change your mindset. We think that we can actually really do well. And then that's how we end up winning a lot of other competitions. And I think separate but related was the following time I won a global competition among 450 startups at Draper University, which was founded by Tim Draper, and he was an early investor of Elon Musk. So how did I win that? Was actually they have a competition of activity, and how they do it is that you have to write down your slide, but then you don't pitch your slide. You give it to a next person, and the next person pitch your slide.
Oh, interesting.
They did that with the intention to show people how horrible your slides was.
That works.
The competition was actually based on how you actually perform, no matter how bad the previous person's slide was. So when I joined the competition, my previous person decided to sabotage me, and then he actually gave us an empty slide. Nothing on the slide, nothing.
What?
Yeah, so 450 startup founders were all waiting for me to see what do I do. So I took a deep breath and speak something out loud in my mind, didn't say it publicly. And then I say, hey, you probably have a time that you really don't have any idea. You just have empty in your head. You don't know what to do. What happened if it happened to your company pitches, or you're meeting with a boss, or what if there will be AI to help you, blah, 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 blah. So after that, the guy before me ended up that he became our first investor. He said, okay, I lost.
Are you serious? He sabotaged you and then he became your first investor?
Exactly. He said, I admire you guys. I lost. You guys doing great. I'm going to join a winning team. I can be the investor. So he became one of our angel investors. So you never know what's winning or lose. But people believe in someone who have point of view and can solve problems.
That is the craziest story I think I've ever heard. But amazing how you kind of were able to take that moment and spin it into something that turned into an advantage. Like, I can't imagine the panic. So one of the things that I just have a hard time believing this, but you have talked to me about, or I've heard you talk about to others as well, is just sometimes feeling imposter syndrome. And when I talk to you, I just have a really hard time imagining you feeling imposter syndrome because you just come across as like a very confident, self-starter. If I don't know the answer, I'll figure it out. And yes, I will go talk to 100 different people. So, when it comes to that, how have you overcome those negative voices for yourself, and what makes you feel worthy to lead?
I don't think she ever fully overcome because it happened in every stage, right? So after working for big tech company, being a startup founder, going again, now being a startup founders, and from early stage startup founder, now being a pre-series A startup founders, and you have different challenges. And so it's always there. But I would say that's exactly why I started a company. And so when I was working for Meta, I'm female leader from Taiwan, immigrant, people with color. When I came to the US, I remember a guy asked me in the class, he asked me, Anya, are you seeing someone? And I turned around. I don't see anyone here. Are you seeing a ghost? Right, English is hard. Are you seeing someone? I don't see anyone here. Are you seeing a ghost? Right? So of course the guy never asked me out again. So he thought, no.
I was waiting to see where the story went. I was like, is this going to be a really creepy guy that follows you around and asks you out all the time?
So my English was so bad. So even when I was working for Meta, most of the leaders there are engineers, came from engineering background. I am a marketing girl who worked my way up, became head of product through my career, but I'm still immigrant female without coding experience before, went to a whole bunch of coding classes, but never really can code. So I felt imposter syndrome every day. So I thought of, hey, I want to look great. At least no one can find out. That's how people don't know if you're freaking out or not. So I start looking for subscription boxes, company like Stitch Fix, but you have to buy from every single shipment. And I didn't like the time of commitment because once we receive the box, you have to decide, am I going to buy it? Can I find somewhere cheaper? After you buy it, you have to do laundry, ironing, and then folding, and then you have to do outfitting again, pair this one with a jacket or what. So I feel like that's too much work. And I start renting. I use company like Rent the Runway, Newly, which by Urban Outfitter, they make $500 million per year since they started 5 years ago. So they have like 40,000 customers and growing a lot every year. But all of those women's rental company, like Amours, Fast Fashion Pass, you'll require you to pick 30,000 garments, 100,000 garments, spend 3 hours picking. So it was a aha moment for me that I realized, fashion company has been designing for people who are into fashion. not for people like me who just want to get ready for the day and be successful. So with that idea in mind, I start research. Okay, who else think like me? Maybe lazy women and think like me who just want to get ready for the day, getting a job, getting a day close deal. But turned out that was actually most people who hate shopping and laundries are men. Busy men like sales guy, recruiters, pastors, professor, executive, consultant. They want to look good, but they don't want to chase after fashion. And all they are looking for was just butler, being an executive assistant, or the gadget guy behind the superhero to help them out. And that's how our AI stylist with menswear rental company was born. But back to your questions, I think the imposter syndrome will never go away. Usually, you start with a small voice in your head, like, you cannot do it, you cannot do it. And the trick is that to shut down the voice before you go too big, because it will become louder and louder. So shut it down early. I also encourage people to go out more, because when you are at home or at your desk looking at your project, it's full of problems. Right? Even Christian, like we work for Target. All of you like, so cool, nice. When you are there, you see, oh, this is so much problem. You do user testing or like $100. There's so many problems. You see problems all day long. But when you go out, you realize people are worse than you, and you do great, and everyone has a problem. So you are just very normal. So go out a little bit more, talk to people, and share your problems, and you will realize that it's actually it's the same. Everyone is there, and you are not worse than other, and you're probably a lot better than other. You are better than you think.
I love that. And also just the fact that the clothing aspect of this for you sounded like it was really a defining factor. Like, if I want to feel good and feel like I'm playing the role that I am meant to play in these companies, I want to look good too. And being able to build off of that. And I remember actually when I first got my first Stitch Fix box several years ago, probably 10 years ago now, how that made me feel. Right? Like, as a leader, I was like, ooh, I feel proud to show up in these clothes now. I feel like I'm living into this role that I've been playing, but now I don't have to worry about all of the things that I was worrying about before. And now I can just think about the good that I want to do at this company.
Yeah, I think it's just no matter people like it or not, reality is people still judged by parents, right? So, and even if people don't care, you feel good. Like when I was at Target, when I want to fit in, I just get on my red polo and khaki pants and feel like, okay, I'm part of the team, right? So
it was a little easier there. 2 colors. Yeah.
Right. So there are so many times probably people don't care, but the moments that you feel like, okay, I'm fit in, you give you peace of mind. And I think that's what we are doing. Like, we style people, so we help them achieve the goal. Like, for example, a customer, he say, I'm going to a conference. We sent him a very interesting dolphin print shirt. Why? Because when he landed in a conference, people say, oh, nice shirt. It become a conversation opener, icebreaker, and they got a deal, right? So end of day, our customer doesn't care looking good. They care about feel good, and then they get a job, get a day close deal. And that's why we are here to help them. We send them clothes, they wear, and then they return the dirty clothes, or they buy the clothes because it's rental, they don't have to buy, and then they get next shipments. But during the process was actually really helping them achieve a goal. And so I'm hoping that will be less and less people feel imposter syndrome, and they feel great no matter how you feel like. I know you dress like the part. You dress like who you want to be, and people already see you in your power outfit. It could be a power suit, will be a power khaki.
And I feel like you're wearing your power outfit today. It's beautiful.
I got this one. People who cannot see, I'm in a Cherry Blossom dress. And I got this dress because last week I went on a DC trip in Washington, DC. And I was visiting alongside 100 Chamber of Commerce member, visiting 100 Senate and congressmen. But of course, the cherry blossom dress looks fancy, but it was cherry blossom week. So I feel like I was fit in and be respectful for them. I don't know if people care, but at least I feel like I'm great. I feel like I try hard for being part of you guys. And so I feel great when we're talking to those senates.
Yes, you are on trend for sure. So for people that want to learn a little bit more about Taelor and what you do, where should they go?
Yeah, so if you are wanting looking good but don't want to chase after fashions and go on Taelor.style, that's Taelor.style, Taelor.style. Use a code podcast25. You can get 25% off first month's menswear rental subscription. And if you do have significant other who need to look good and don't want to spend time, the best gift is something keep on giving. The best gift is saving time. So use a code podcast gift, you can get 10% off gift card at Taelor.style. And feel free to reach out to me if you are investor, supplier, business partner. We partner with dating site, career center, fitness center, career coach, executive coaching, and also Hollywood studios. So we send out gift card for corporates to help them to save their employees' time and support the ESG. So reach out to me. My email is Anya, Anya, at Taelor.ai, Taelor.ai.
I love that you are giving them a special discount, so thank you for doing that. I think that everyone should go check it out. The site is beautiful. Just, of course, it is. Not surprised. But this is, I think, a really interesting niche and opportunity for both supporting a new business and an emerging startup, and also a fabulous leader who has really, shown a lot of how you overcome difficulties and how you continue to show up courageously and confidently, even when you're going into new situations. And so I just love supporting great leaders and amplifying great leaders. So I appreciate you taking time to come onto the show today. And, if there's one piece of advice that you could give people just to leave them with something that has been important to you, what would you say?
I would say stay curious and get involved. Something I feel like when I was in corporate, most of my time was like, what's useful? Okay, is this vendor helpful for me? Is that company, is this conference helpful for me? Am I looking for a job, talking to people? We are busy, so we are very transactional. But I realized being a startup world is just opportunities out there when you are not looking. So for example, a lot of startup founders, they already know plenty of investors because they were angel investors before. $10,000, $25,000, they become investors. So they have a whole bunch of different networks and they know the whole ecosystem. I didn't do so because I didn't think I would start a company. So I think it's important to be open-minded. The industry changing a lot, and you never know what you will do. You might work for a startup, you might start your own company, you might do something in different countries, in a very different industry. You just don't know. So get out of your office, get out of the whole industry, the same people. Go and check out what's going on outside the world, and you might find something inspiring and helpful for your job and being a better leader.
I love that. All right. Well, I'm going to close us out there. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. This is Anya from Taelor.
Thank you for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed hearing from Anya, and she is just a powerhouse. So keep your eye on her. If this episode resonated, we'd love for you to subscribe at worthytolead.co/subscribe so you never miss an episode. And feel free to share this with leaders in your life who need to believe in their capability today. As always, keep showing up, keep doing the work that matters, and keep leading like you're worthy to lead. Because you are. We'll see you next time.